fixing my hair.
तो दोस्तों आप सुन रहे हैं कहते सुनते विद मनबीर सिंह कोहली और मैं अभी अरे मुझे क्या हुआ मैं फ्रीज ही हो गया हूँ यहाँ पर लेट मी सी व्हाट्स हैपेंड हियर कम ऑन let's see yep I've come back so I've got with me hello guys can you hear me
Yes.
Even though it's past your bedtime what are good people like you doing at this time of the night outside so
Emma's outside.
Outside. It's very cold outside and it's very cold inside as well.
Okay, I'm still. Actually, the delay was I was still setting up the Zoom screen because I'm doing everything myself. I'm just a small-time radio show, so I'm going to do everything, and that's where. So, but anyway, let's. I think this Zoom screen is good enough with everybody. So I've got. Let me guess. I've got Mr. Kharbanda, Gaurav Kharbanda. Hello, Gaurav. Wave so that everybody knows you. I'm Manbir. Then, of course, I've got Vishal Shah. Vishal, you want to wave? And Vishal Shah is also part of the cast of A Passage to India, and Gaurav is the lead in the Passage to India. And of course, then we have Emma Whitehead, a recent immigrant to this country, I presume, and the assistant director of A Passage to India. Welcome, everybody.
Thank you. She came on a boat.
She came on a boat. We decide who comes to this country and when they do. Remember the John Howard statement. But Emma, welcome. And let's shoot this first question. And so, a great book, A Passage to India. Now tell me, instead of saying that the movie was better than the book and the book is better than the movie, is the play better than the book and the movie then?
Emma, you go.
Yeah, Emma.
I haven't actually read the book or watched the film, so I'll
Okay.
let you answer this, Gaurav.
Okay. So you don't have anything to compare with. Fantastic.
I don't like to look at prior productions,
Uh-huh.
and in terms of the book, yeah, I get why the actors would have found that helpful, and certainly the director found it helpful as well.
Yeah.
But in the limited time that we had, I wanted to focus on the play text itself because it's a very challenging text to work with. So I was fully focused on that.
Mm. So, what were some of the challenges you faced here? Converting this such a long book into a play. Obviously, it will be abridged. It would have left out some important parts of that. Yeah, Emma?
Well, I think because it's so epic,
Mm-hmm.
The story spans several years, and the play is very episodic.
Yep.
So we have flashbacks, we have flash forwards, we have multiple scenes that are kind of simultaneous as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really about using the medium of theatre to tell the story, rather than, telling a linear story.
Mm.
And in terms of translating that into how the production worked, it's a very challenging show for stage management.
Absolutely.
And also for the actors, because they have to really learn to work as an ensemble,
Mm-hmm.
to move sets, move props, be ready for lots and lots of cues. Even, Atav, who plays Dr. Aziz, he has so many scenes where he walks off into the wing and within 5 seconds he's coming back on with a costume change and he's in a completely different time and place.
Wow.
So hats off to the actors for, really working through it, getting it all in their heads during rehearsals, but then having the concentration to do that every night is impressive.
And I've heard some raving reviews, but I'll come to Gaurav. So Gaurav, tell us about your lead role. Dr. Aziz, I presume you're playing Dr. Aziz?
No. So, I was just going to say, it's not a lead role. It's Dr. Aziz is the lead role.
It is a lead role, Professor Godbole.
So what are you playing, Gaurav?
So my character, well, he works as a professor in a college.
Yes.
And he's a professor of philosophy.
Yeah.
That's his job. But as a person, he imitates God, basically. He's a saint. He rises above the imperfections of humanity, of humans in general, and he rises above that, and he looks at it from a broader perspective, how the world usually operates, that everything happens according to the plan, and, it's meant to be, and that sort of thing. At the same time, he's a devoted, he's a devotee of Lord Krishna, and he talks about Krishna a lot. He believes in Krishna. So he's got these different elements. He's got this philosophical element. He's got this religious element. He's weird, So, which is great, because it just gave me a lot of things to think about and work on, basically. So, and that's the whole joy of this character and the play as well. The way he kind of, comes and goes during the play. So that's the beauty of it.
And it is so relevant even now with the hints of racism and the relationship between the rulers, if you like, between the colonizers and the natives. And sometimes, that scene where they're going up the hill and and they're climbing, it's also surreal when I read it. I haven't watched the movie, but I found that so surreal, and just the kind of things that happen there. It's so scary. What were some of the challenges that you faced, Gaurav? Changing those costumes, fatafat, or?
Oh, look, no, not for me. He's I've only got 2 costumes, thankfully.
Okay.
Costumes wasn't really, or is an issue. The challenges, I think it was more about getting. The character itself is a challenge, or was a challenge, which I'm still solving. It's a mystery, and which I'm still trying to solve. So every time we perform, there's something new, another feeling, another emotion that comes into it. Plus, also, because there's so many, I haven't worked with such a big cast before, or done a play which has 17 runs. The most I've done is about 8 or 9 runs. So, how to be consistent and how to stay in it for this long period of time, starting from rehearsals till the end, is, I think, another sort of, it's not a challenge, but it's something which I'm getting to discover as well at the same time.
Fantastic. And tell me, when you're doing so many runs, do you get better with each run, or do you falter still?
For me, and this is I think it depends on the actors, right? So you ask different actors and they'll probably give you different answers. But for me personally, I wouldn't call it better or worse. I would just call it different. And there's always something different. It's never, ever the same, even though it's the same line, same words, same emotion, same scenes, but it's never the same, which is amazing.
So is it the energy of the audience that changes that, or is it just the dynamics of all the actors and what's happened there and the scenes that changes you? And is it how you're feeling that day that influences your role, or do you just go in as a robo and day after day do the same thing?
Absolutely. Look, everything you mentioned, it's all part of that. You speak about audience, some nights you'd have a quieter audience. They would laugh inside, but they probably wouldn't show that or express that. Yeah. And some are like really loud and they want to show everything what they're feeling, Obviously how you're feeling inside plays a big part into it, as an individual. And then there's other external circumstances, the people you work with or the conversations you've had that day, or could be a memory, could be anything. And that's, yeah.
All right. So which brings us to Vishal. Vishal, tell us, what are you playing, and is this your first big production, or have you done big productions before this?
Yeah, I think it's my first production in Sydney where I'm acting. Previously done 2 productions where I was more in stage management, but this is the first one where I've been so involved in Sydney. But only about the 3rd play in Sydney, so I'm pretty new to the theatre scene as such over here. Previously, I have done big productions back in India with about 15 to 20 people in the cast, a lot of costume changes and things. So, but I think if I just look at it overall, this has to be the biggest of them all. And yes, a bit complex as well, because I play one of the minor characters, Hamidullah, who is the central character, Aziz's uncle. So I play, and but then I'm also playing a lot of these small ensemble characters throughout the play as well. And then that again involves a lot of these instant, quick costume changes going in very quickly, which has been really fun. You learn a lot of choreography, coordination with different people, getting people to help you backstage and stuff. So it's been really nice to work with people and sort of get this done.
Is there any songs in the play? Any dancing around the trees? Like, unless that happens, it's not Indian here.
Yeah, no, I get it. There is some
songs around the tree.
No, not a tree.
Not a tree.
The tree is left in the imagination of the audience. You have to imagine it.
So what have you learned, Vishal, since this is your first big production? Of course, working with Emma would have been quite sort of exciting for you. She comes with a lot of experience, and
yes.
So was that exciting, or just being on stage in front of and on such a beautiful stage?
Yeah, for sure. I think it was really. I was very nervous at the start about how to approach this because having never acted in Sydney, I wasn't sure how the whole atmosphere would be. But I think the entire crew, everyone from Mark to Emma, to Hannah, to everybody in the crew has been extremely welcoming, along with the actors as well from the very start. Have laid out their expectations, have been very helpful in telling us what works, what doesn't, and they've been very good at giving very instant and quick feedback to you as well. So you learn, and it's and everyone's very approachable, which is what I found really lovely. You can just go up and ask about, hey, could I do this differently? Should I have done something different here? And you just get instant feedback, which was amazing to see. So I think after my first sort of couple of sessions itself, it's not been like I've been working with this group. I've not known these guys for long, and now after like 3 months, it's just been very comfortable. It's been like a small family of sorts. You meet up every week at the theatre. Everybody's just having laughs, and I became very comfortable very soon, which was nice as such.
Yeah. So Emma, is this your first production? I noticed a little Pommy in you, accent coming through. Is this your first production in Sydney, or?
No, it's not my first production in Sydney. So I've been in Sydney for almost 2 years.
Okay.
And I've been working with the Genesian Theatre for the last sort of year to 18 months. So I was the assistant director on a Sherlock Holmes play,
okay,
which opened last March, and then we reopened it after the COVID restrictions eased in October. And then I also directed my first short play at Christmas time at the Genesian, which was a comedy, which was really fun.
Okay.
And I wanted to assistant direct this because I knew it was going to be a challenging play, and I've also seen Mark G. Nagle's work before at the New Theatre.
Yeah.
And I just think he's such a wonderfully knowledgeable director. I wanted to see how he worked in the rehearsal room. And it was a very busy rehearsal room. You know, when we had whole ensemble rehearsals with 20 people, you know, in a relatively decent sized room, but when you put 20 people in there, I mean, there's no space for imagining wings. Gets a bit hot and stuffy quite quickly.
Yeah.
But you know, the experience of doing this has been very valuable, and I will be taking that into my next show, which will be at the New Theatre in September.
So have you directed a mixed cast like this with different accents and different colors and different sort of, have you done this before, or is this the first time?
I think I'd have to go, because I had a hiatus from theatre work because, you know, I had to get a proper job when I had loads of student debt. So, you know, 10 years ago when I was at university in England, there were a few things there that I did devise work, and we did have a multicultural cast, but definitely I'd say that was more sort of all different types of European countries and a few people of colour, but not as multicultural as I would have expected doing something in London, for example, because I was up in the Midlands.
Okay.
So this has been really interesting because, you know, we've all learnt from each other, and also it's given us a chance to be really authentic with what we're presenting. So, you know, I wanted to make sure that we had an element of music, live music, and, you know, recorded authentic music as well. So,
so what are some of the challenges?
Knew that I wanted to do it. So I passed that over to Vishal, and he took that on board, and he's done an absolutely fantastic job with that.
So what are some of the challenges when you are sort of working with a multicultural cast, and some of them come from different perspectives on theatre? Like Vishal has some Indian experience. I don't know about Gaurav. Gaurav, what's your experience of theatre? Is it Sydney or is it somewhere else? Or
I only started exploring or learning acting about 7 years ago, and during this time I've done a few productions. I've done some productions, one in Newtown, one at King's Cross, Darlinghurst. So I've done some indie theatre before. But as I said before, not as long as 16 or 17 runs. You know, but I've done a few in the past. But again, you know, when you talk about the scale and the number of actors involved and the complications involved in bringing this to stage, it was just not a level. You know, music, again, like Emma said, was a big. Well, when you talk about challenges, and when I started thinking, I think music was kind of one of the challenges that we faced. And Vishal and Emma, you probably get touch base on that a little bit and tell them about this.
Yeah, over to you, Vishal. It's your baby.
Music was definitely a challenge because there are a few places in the play which are, you know, great for music, great for live, great for songs and stuff, but then you've got to balance that with the practicality of having something like that on stage. Because there's such a huge cast and so many members involved in the dance and music scene as well, we also have to take care that it's not as crowded on stage as well. So yeah, there are a lot of practical elements there, but I think in the end we managed to have a nice mix of the music. We were lucky to find some really good musicians and who were able to who were able to help compose some themes for certain characters for us. And with respect to the live music as well, we were able to have some songs which we then converted into a short live music section on stage, so that it's not too lengthy as well. It's not eating up into a lot of the other scenes as well. But as the audience, you get a tiny flavor of what the scene has with respect to music and culture. So it's not a lot of live music in the play, but we retained like some sections where, again, like I said, just to give the audience a flavor of what's going on in the scene at that moment. But overall, it was really fun to, just get these musicals together, work with different people, work with their different styles. And obviously, again, Emma and Mark were great at giving us feedback on what works, what doesn't work, what kind of music do they want, because you can have a lot of good ideas about the music, but then there's obviously a directorial vision as to what you want in the play and how you want it to appear as well. So we had to constantly adhere to that as well. But overall, it was just good teamwork, I felt, in the end, amongst the musicians, the cast, the crew, and everyone.
So what kind of song is it? What kind of song, and what is it? Indian song, or is it?
So it is. It is more of a bhajan type of a song. So
okay.
It's a Radha Krishna based bhajan, and that's kind of the signature tune which we like to call it as Godbole's song. So that's become Gaurav's tune as such, and that's the bhajan which we sing and we play live a couple of times.
Live too? Wow.
Yes, so we play it live as well. We have a sitar player who joins, and then there is a tabla player who plays some lovely tabla in the background as well.
Wow.
There's a guitar as well. There are a few cymbals for that manjira sound. So we've tried to create that bhajan atmosphere in those scenes, and then coupled with that, in the front you have a bit of dance as well. So you would know how the environment is during those very energetic bhajans, and how people just get into the scene and they rejoice and they greet each other. So we've tried to create a bit of that. So there's live music, there's a bit of dance as well, and it happens in a couple of instances in the play. And it all just comes in the middle of scenes, certain scenes. Sometimes as a relief as well from the previous scenes and to the next. So it almost comes in as a bit of a relief in the middle. So would highly recommend to check it out.
So Emma, have you ever done an Indian musical like this before? I mean, it's a minor musical. It's not a full-fledged musical. But have you ever done this?
I've done musicals before. I've acted in musicals and some. There was one musical, my favourite musical that I've ever done is called Made in Dagenham, and I actually did a solo song dressed as Elvis, and I had 4 backing dancers.
Wow.
So I learned to do a choreographed dance as well as singing solo, which was great fun.
Okay.
So what's funny about doing this is that, this is obviously not a musical, this is a play.
Yeah.
Where we just wanted to put some element of live music and movement in there. And, we wouldn't be able to do that if the playwright had written it in a linear fashion. We found this opportunity because it is so episodic and kind of all over the place with scenes and timelines. So that's been a fantastic opportunity.
All right, so tell us about...
It's made from adding music and dance.
Yep.
Is, a lot of people don't realise how much rehearsal it takes to do one small section, and
Absolutely.
we've definitely found that out doing this production. The main song, I think we probably had 4 rehearsals just for that section to make sure that everyone understood what they were doing. We were in time. The choreographer Akshat Gupta came in and did some movement work. And, you know, at times I could see people getting frustrated because, you know, you wouldn't expect normally to spend this long on a section that in reality will probably only take, you know, 2 minutes to perform. But actually, when you keep at it, we know it's going to be good. And everyone kept at it. And it is good. It was really lovely to see that kind of different action on stage. And it sounds amazing, especially the tabla. You know, at the end as well, it just absolutely is the cherry on top.
Fantastic. And I've got Suman Mathur who's watched your performance, and she's saying the props are marvelous. And of course, she says that Atharv Kolatkar's acting was fantastic, and Vishal's. So she's a big fan of the play, and she's putting those comments in the sidelines as we speak. But so tell us about the play. Where is it happening, so that for people who haven't been there as yet can come in?
The actual venue?
Yeah, venue and timings and all that.
Yeah, sure. So the venue is called the Genesian Theatre. That's Genesian.
Yeah.
It's a tiny little church. It's a converted Catholic church that's been running since the 1940s, I believe. And it's like a really architecturally interesting space with a really lovely traditional kind of wooden proscenium arch and a red velvet curtain with gold trimming. You know,
wow.
It's a lovely space to be in.
Yeah.
And it's right next to Town Hall Station.
So you can take a train there?
Yeah. And we're running every Friday and Saturday nights and Sunday matinees at 4:30 p.m.
Yep.
And the last show is June the 19th, which is a Saturday.
All right. And so, yeah, I'm looking forward to coming and watching it myself. Tell us about, last question before you go. I can't do this. I can't let you go without talking about Tawfiq. You know, he's our connection to your play. Tell us about him. How's he done? What's his role? Yeah, everything. Because that's us there.
Tawfiq is nuts.
You can go home. You summed him up.
Yeah, that's
He's got a couple of roles. He's got a couple of roles. Mahmoud Ali.
Yeah.
And Muhammad Latif. So he's got a very dramatic court scene. And he looks great in, you know, the court robes and his pieces of paper that he's shouting at the judge with. And also he plays, it's Dr. Aziz's uncle or cousin, and he helps with the expedition to the cave, which turns into a bit of a disaster. But yeah, I mean, he has a great scene with Vishal, where they're at Hamidullah's place and they're just talking about, you know, how annoying the English people are.
Okay.
He's got really good stage presence, a lot of energy.
Absolutely.
I think Gaurav mentioned this earlier. Not every time you do a performance, it's very different, and a lot of it is dependent on the energy you get from your co-actors as well as from the audience. And
absolutely.
I think one scene, the one which Emma mentioned, the one where we are sitting in my house and I'm discussing with Tawfiq. Aziz is there, as is Muhammad Rafi as well. It always ends up being like very different by a notch, purely because of the energy thrown by the actors, and Tawfiq plays a significant part in that particular scene as well. Yeah, it's been really fun working with him.
Excellent. Yeah. And he's a very important part of our show, and so I understand his theatrics. I watched him perform, and he brings a good energy, and he's very committed to the art. But look, Emma, Vishal, Gaurav, thank you very much for your time. I wish we could go on and keep talking about this, but I'd like to come and watch it, and once I'm there, I'd like to come and say hello to you after the show, maybe. All right. All the best with your future productions, Emma and Gaurav and Vishal, and to the entire team. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you very much
for having us.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
See you.
See you later. Bye.
See you.
Bye.
Okay, so that was the cast of A Passage to India. अगर आपने किताब नहीं पढ़ी है तो जरूर पढ़िएगा. It is set in is it the 1920s? And it's a great story. और उसमें racism and the relationship of the colonizers with the natives, उसके ऊपर सारी चीजें हैं. तो मैं थोड़ी म्यूजिक